Let's talk about the migrant crisis going on in Denver. So I don't know if I like to classify what's going on at the border as a crisis, because in a lot of circumstances it's very manageable by the larger macroeconomic picture of what the United States is. We're a large country, we have a large economy, we have labor shortages, we have the means and the resources and the places to put all these people if we wanted to. But the crisis comes when we're not responding effectively. Right. And we don't have the laws on the books in order to handle and process these people accordingly. One of the things that happens here is you have municipal governments like Denver that face the brunt of this, that don't have the resources that the federal government does have, that the federal government could be and should be using to integrate and help these people, but they're just not doing that. In a lot of cases, it's because their hands are tied. But let's go over what's going on in Denver. So Denver is a city of 750,000 people. Well, over the last few months, they have received 40,000 migrants. This is the most per capita of any city in the entire nation. And this flow of migrants slowed in the deep chill of winter, right? Because, when it's getting colder, but this is not sustainable. 40,000 people coming into your city when you only had 750,000 to begin with.
Yeah.
That's not going to be sustainable.
That's crazy.
So Mike Johnston, don't get confused with Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House. Mike Johnston is the mayor of Denver, and he has done a fantastic job of getting 1,200 homeless people off of the streets in his first 6 months of office. But this is not nearly what is needed now with the higher influx of migrants. The city has spent more than $42 million on these migrants. If expenditures continue at the current pace of $3.5 million a week, the crisis could cost the city $180 million in 2024 alone. This is equivalent to 10% of the city's overall budget. This is going to cripple the municipality's ability to function and operate in the best interest of the citizens of the city. So the city will begin imposing a first round of budget cuts, starting with reductions in parks and motor vehicle services. Now, the city is saying that these cuts are starting with reductions in parks and motor vehicle services. Nothing is getting cut in relation to migrant services because they can't afford to cut that area. It's being utilized too much.
Yeah.
So parks and motor vehicles are facing the brunt of this municipality budget crunch. People are getting upset that too much municipal resources are going towards helping the incoming migrants, which it's just going to be a political reality, right? Whether you want to help the migrants or you don't, it's going to be a political reality that people are going to get upset with their municipalities' services getting cut.
Of course. I mean, is now when we want to zoom out to the discussion between us about, does this throw a wrench? Is this a crisis? Does this show it is a crisis?
Well, then, but then this is where this is when I want to get into what the mayor has been kind of talking about. The mayor blames Denver's predicament on Republican leaders in Congress who have rejected the proposal negotiated by one of his own senators and supported by President Biden.
Okay.
So they want the border bill that was negotiated by Chris Murphy, Kyrsten Sinema, Langford to be passed. That's one thing. But the other thing is, he wants these migrants to be able to work. He says to become eligible for work permits, migrant must apply for asylum, and this is a cumbersome process. And then they have to wait 150 days until they're able to get a work permit. This causes a lot of issues because this means that the migrants literally cannot work for themselves and pay rent for an apartment for themselves.
Yeah.
They are reliant on municipal services because they are legally barred from entering the labor force.
Yeah.
Some have found off the books jobs in construction and housekeeping, but this is not sustainable.
No.
There were some good quotes from people here. This is one man. He said, "I am not here to beg at a traffic light. I came here to work." People cried out that they would do any honest job and that they were not asking for charity. And this is frustrating the mayor incessantly because he said he went up to one of the people who was complaining and being like, asking for a job, and he's like, "If I could, I would give you a job right now," the mayor told one of the migrants. So this is really what's causing so much of the backlog and the budget problems.
Yeah.
Is the fact that the people can't contribute to the local economies. If they were able to contribute to the local economies, getting employed, working for somebody, maybe starting their own business, if they had that opportunity, this would be looking totally different right now.
Okay. I wonder about totally different because there would still be some period where these migrants came in and they're poor, like
Yes.
completely poor, destitute. They don't have any money,
Yep.
including to rent a place,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I wonder, obviously this would grease the wheels. This would get these migrants out of the state-supported systems of housing, shelter more quickly.
Right.
Quickly enough? We don't know.
Right. We don't know.
We can't know until we get not only work permits to come down faster, but also housing to be able to be built more fluidly.
Yes.
Right? You need both things.
Yeah, you need both things. And Denver, I think, is pretty good with their zoning laws.
Okay.
I think they're getting better and better on the right track. Housing and zoning reform is one of the things we talk about a lot on this show, making it easier to build housing. And so what I like about this story is the community was very compassionate to these people. So the community organized to disperse hot food and other necessities to the migrants. And the community has expressed that they are extremely determined to integrate the migrants, which I love seeing that sentiment, but I have to ask the question, how long can that hospitality truly hold?
Yeah, this is where you need more help. You need the system to allow the migrants to work for themselves because they won't be able to do this forever.
And you need a better federal system to not overload a city of 750,000 to make it the most migrant-heavy city per capita in the nation. We need a better system of how to distribute the migrants across the country. Because right now, these migrants are coming here because they're getting bused from Texas and Greg Abbott.
Okay.
That's what's happening.
So you need a federal system that kind of preempts the migrants that are coming into Texas and sends them elsewhere, you think?
Yeah, I think that's what has to happen. There needs to be a better federal system to get migrants better dispersed across the country so it doesn't hit these local communities hard like this.
Okay.
Because, again, it's all about the shock effect. I think once these people start working, all it's going to do is improve the area overall with time.
Yes, I agree. But it does matter that these municipalities are being completely overrun right now.
Yeah.
So, of course, instituting solutions like getting them work permits is helpful. And I think, I don't know, from a broader vision of two people who are pro-immigration and would like to encourage more immigration into the country, like expanding support for building temporary shelter for people that are coming in because they so often do come in with nothing would be enormously helpful. However, I do want to talk about how important and positive it is that this framing is that the community is going out of their way to help these migrants rather than complaining that they're ruining everything.
Hell yeah.
Because the truth is, I don't think these migrants often really impede on native born Americans' lives, right? It's just the media blows it up to seem like much more of a crisis. And the people that it is a crisis for, I will say, are the municipal governments, right?
Yes.
And the people running the municipal governments. But it's not like there is not actually an invasion where migrants are invading people's homes, right? It's nothing like that. So I like that Denver has had the wherewithal to say, no, fuck the media. We want to help these people and go out of their way to do it. That's exactly what we need.
Yeah, and I like what you were saying that they need to have some type of emergency housing system in place.
Yeah.
Because one of the way that the municipality has been housing these migrants is by renting hotel rooms.
Yeah, renting hotel rooms. Sometimes they clear out like gymnasiums and schools if they need it.
Yeah.
They'll use libraries or churches. There is no plan for a lot of new people coming into the town at once who need help.
And so if we had a federal government that was like, okay, this section of this state is going to be like a migrant integration zone where we're going to, bus these migrants up to, Denver or Minneapolis or wherever.
Yeah.
And we're saying, okay, we have this emergency shelter prepared and ready to go for these couple 15 days before we get you your work permit and then you go.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Or something. And
Exactly.
so there needs to be just a better system in place to deal with all this because falling on municipal government's heavy, man. I'm involved in municipal government. And if you told me that we had to cut 10% of our budget, I tell you, it's absolutely impossible to do that.
Yeah.
If we would not be able to allocate 10% of our budget. We would fall short on our pensions. We would fall short on our health insurance payments to our public sector workers.
Yeah.
We would not be able to operate. Our school systems would be impacted. So I don't even know how they're doing it and where they're getting the money from.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
To suggest it's not a problem is wrong. But, I think it all boils down to this idea of work permits.
Yes, totally. Like I think about the work permits and trying to more specific, like I want there to be almost no paperwork.
Yes.
I want you to just walk into like meet an employer, be like, you're hired and I can pay you.
Yeah.
Right. I guess that's not feasible. We're not experts.
No, but
on
hold on.
that.
Republican Party.
Logistics, yeah.
Republican Party is the party of cutting the red tape.
Yep.
Of getting rid of the regulation. Okay. Here's one area where we agree. Cut the red tape. Get rid of the regulation.
I think the Republican Party is. I think it's shifting away from that. I think it's becoming less and less accurate or possible to describe the Republican Party that way.
I don't think it's a neoliberal party anymore.
No.
Right? That's what I'm saying.
No.
Because now it's much more about imposing their cultural will on the country, and the economic mindset of how to achieve that is very much on the back burner.
Yes, I think we're just generally at a time of like shifting alignment within our political parties. And I think that'd be very interesting to do a deep dive on sometime.
We should do that.
Yeah.
That would be a good deep dive.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be next week. I like that.
Okay.